I hope we're connected. I hope we're good to go. What is going on? Welcome to Home Built Workshop. Welcome to Wednesday Live. I hope all of you are doing awesome today. And Paul beat me here. Paul's here. Paul says, K, how long? See how long I get to watch today. Hello, all. Good morning, Paul. How are you this fine Wednesday morning? Hopefully, I hope we're good. I hope connection-wise, we have no problems here. I don't know. Right on. Paul, what are you up to this Wednesday? Nicholas is here. Nicholas says, hey, hey. What's up, Nicholas? Good morning. It is kind of a toasty day already. We've had our warmest string of weather that we've had all year. We hit 100 degrees the other day. I know that's not that much for some of you, some of the areas around this great big world of ours, but around here, 100 degrees is pretty toasty. It's probably, man, it feels like it's got to be like 80 or something here in the shop already. It's pretty toasty. But I hope you all are staying comfortable, whether it's warm or cool, whatever it is. I hope you're all doing great. Paul says, work. Darn that work. Dang it. Dastardly Dave says, sup all. What's up, Dave? How are you? And Donna's here. Donna says, good morning, Jeff. Good morning, Donna. How are you this fine Wednesday morning? Paul says 152 heat index in Iran this past weekend. Man, that's I I have no words for that. And Harry Dude says, what's up? Hey folks. Harry Dude, good morning. Good evening to you. Morning, it's morning, I guess. Early morning. Hope you're doing great. Now, Nicholas says, miserable weather here in Huntsville, Alabama. Hope you're stay hydrated. I hope miserable means like it's hot, I'm guessing. Donna says, man, I love the Southwest heat. Went to Death Valley, 123, and loved it. 123, man. Wow. The hottest I've ever experienced, I think, is like 107 or something like that. I know that's not that's not the max, but that's the hottest I've ever experienced. I had some friends. Speaking of Death Valley, I have a friend of mine since like elementary school, but his dad has always been a runner, always running, and they had traveled to Death Valley at some point. I don't know when it was, like quite a few years ago. And it was, I don't know, probably around that temperature. And just for fun, they decided to stop because he wanted to go on, I don't know, a good long run in the heat. Like, that's crazy. I can't imagine it being that hot and then going out and going for a run. But Dastardly Dave says, warm but smoky here the past few days. Yes, I've heard of that the smoke keeps traveling in. We haven't had any of that here. Man, it's probably been at least a month or more. We had it at I think the very early season of those wildfires that are going on. I gotta close this window. There's too much noise coming in. There, that's better. And but I have heard that along the northeastern areas that the smoke keeps moving in. And my best goes out to those fighting those fires. That's crazy. And that smoke I know makes it a little interesting to be working outside and that sort of thing. So be safe. Nicholas says, hot, humid, and smoky. Last night had storm that toppled trees and power poles. Oh man. That's not the kind of miserable weather I was hoping you were going to report. So I hope you and everybody's okay. That's a pretty serious storm there. You got trees down and stuff. Man. Harry Dude says, it's morning. 1:05 a.m. to be exact. Actually, we're probably 1:07. You're probably 1:08. Nicholas says, I miss dry. Says Death Valley hot 134 a day or two ago. Oh, man. Donna's excited. And Highline Guitars, Chris, what's going on? Good morning. Good morning. He says Google Badwater Ultra Marathon. Is that the Death Valley? I'll have to look that up. Right on. Highline Guitars, what are you working on? What's on your workbench this morning? Anything? We're going to get to what's on mine here pretty quick, as you can probably guess. Paul says, good thing about fires in Canada, if you live in the northeast area with heat and smoke, you can sure fix up some good smoked brisket without needing a smoker. I mean, yeah, but I'd rather them not have the wildfires, though. We have had wildfires all too close to us here, and it is not, yeah, it's not, it's not funny. Not that I'm laughing, but yeah, it was around, I don't know, 10 years ago or so. We had one here in Black Forest, just outside Colorado Springs, called Black Forest. Not the Black Forest you might be familiar with in Germany, but the Black Forest here, we had a fire. Man, I don't know how many acres. I can't remember. 14,000, 18,000, maybe it was more than that. I can't remember. But it was pretty bad. We were put here where I live on pre-evacuation notice, and I wasn't too concerned with it coming to us. But yeah, it was a very it was kind of scary, really. So yeah, while I haven't experienced actually being in one, it has been all too close to home. Nicholas says, all good with me and mine. Right on, Nicholas. I'm glad to hear that. Paul says true. Hotline Guitar says 135-mile run from Death Valley to Mount Whitney in July, a few days from now. Oh man, I can't imagine. Like I can function in the heat, and you know it's not horrible. You know, it's not my favorite thing, but I can't imagine just being out in that heat and running. Man, I imagine the water checkpoints are quite abundant, I would have to imagine. And Wayne's here. Wayne says, happy Wednesday. Happy Wednesday, Wayne. How are you this fine Wednesday? Highline Guitar says, building a V-shaped flat-back guitar today. Right on. I guess we'll just jump right in. Yeah, I mean, you guys can probably tell what I'm working on here. I'm making more progress on the acoustic. This one is going a lot smoother, at least I feel like, than the first one, mainly because, well, I've done this process at least a little bit. So over the last couple of days, I've had a little bit more time the last few days. This is kind of a weird week here for us. My daughter is off to summer camp, and she's gone the entire week, like just gone. I mean, she's not, I don't know where she is, but so it's kind of weird. And hopefully, I'm hoping that she's having a great time. But yeah, it's kind of weird after how many years, and she's now off to camp. So I've been able to get quite a bit more time out here, and been making some good progress on the guitar. So I've got the Ambrosia Maple back. I've got the braces. I've got the center strip glued in. I've got the rough braces glued in. See if you can get a bit of a... I haven't done any sort of carving or tuning, you know, of the braces and stuff yet, but I love how the sound changes once you glue the braces in and this thing is actually under tension. It's really cool. So pretty happy with this. Turned out really well. And I've got, I don't know, yeah, I guess, yeah, you can see it pretty good. I've got the top here. Actually, I can probably unclamp this. I've got the top. I'm working on the braces for the top. I've got the X braces glued in. The bridge plate is glued in. Before we started, it's probably been about an hour. I can probably unclamp these, and maybe we'll do that because I want to show you the rosette. Got the tone bars glued in, and this time I put a little cap on the X brace. Yeah, actually, I think we'll unclamp that here in just a second. But yeah, that's what I've been working on. Right now I'm in the process of roughing out the finger braces. They will get glued on. They get glued on kind of in this area. Getting those roughed out. I'm going to get those glued in next. I'm hoping that today I'll have all of the braces glued in place, really. And then tomorrow, maybe even today, I don't know, depends on how long it takes, I'll be able to start carving on some of the braces. So it's pretty cool. And once that carving's done, then it's time to put the side bender. I point at it like you can see it. I do that all the time. Once I get the braces carved, we're going to be bending some sides. So maybe by the end of the week, I'll have put this side bender to work. Oh, the other thing, I'm going to grab it. Remember I was talking about, I think last week, I was talking about making my own binding, and I showed you guys kind of those kind of ratty pieces of elm. Had all the cracks and chips in there. In between getting things clamped up, waiting for glue to dry so I can move on to the next step, I've been working on roughing out brace stock. So this is some elm. Can't really see it, the colors are all washed out. I've got a bunch of pieces that I cut. Remember some of those that had the cracks and stuff in there? There's a strip or two that I can get along some of these edges. But yeah, I think I got most of the brace material all ready to go. I just got to cut it down into the little strips. But yeah, I'm feeling pretty good. Feeling pretty good. So let me get caught up on your comments here, and then we'll unclamp this thing. And I want to show you the rosette because I'm super happy with it. I'm working on the video for that right now that hopefully will be out this weekend. Brian, my hermit life, gives a wave. What's up? And Dallo's here. Dallo, what's up? Nicholas says, wildfires are no joke. Yes, that is true. And Brian's here. Brian says, hello, everyone. Hope you're all well. We are well, Brian. How are you doing? Hope you guys are doing good, too. Christian is here. Says, hello. What's going on? Good morning, Christian. Paul says, at least you got that cool floating bridge now, so you can sit on the pond and jump in if it gets too hot. Yes. Did you guys enjoy that? That was fun. For a couple different reasons. If you guys haven't seen the video that Paul's talking about, it came out last weekend here on the YouTube channel, so go back and give it a watch. That was a super fun project for a couple reasons. Mainly because, well, it was kind of fun to build a canoe paddle. I've never made a canoe paddle before, and that was really fun. Starting with a piece of slab wood, and even some slab wood that I had milled up myself, and it's been drying about 2 years. And using material like that to create a cool thing, that was awesome. But because my daughter and I we had so much fun messing around with that thing, and that was just great. I did pick up a few more pool noodles. I'm going to get those put on. I don't know, it's supposed to be cooler today. I might do that today or tomorrow. And while she's gone at camp, so hopefully when she comes back from camp, we can maybe both float. But that was just so fun. I do need to put the bridge back in place because I got to get to the other side of that little stream to mow those weeds down over there. They're starting to get out of control, and the bridge has been used as a boat. So, but yeah, that was so fun. I had such a fun time, even putting the video together. That was cool. Christian says, "How you doing?" I mean, I'm doing good. How are you? And Sam's here. Sam says hello. Robert says I'm a little late, but here. Welcome, Robert. Hope you're doing good. Sam says you can make a drawbridge that operates on a solar system. Something like that would be kind of cool. There was absolutely zero intention of turning that into a boat, the little bridge, or a raft, I guess. But like I said in the video, when we saw it was floating, light bulb. Robert says I got my full yard mowed yesterday, so there's that. Right on. Right on. Yeah, I got some mowed over the weekend. I think this past Saturday. I need to get out and do some more, but it's been kind of hot. I got a bunch to get caught up on with that. Christian says I want to have a workshop and build stuff and keep some, sell the rest. That sounds like a great plan. I'm all for it. Go for it. You can do it. Cheers, everyone. All right. What do you say? We unclamp this thing. Because I want to show you. Sorry, I'm not trying to be rude and have my back to the camera, but we're going to have to do this for a minute. So we're going to unclamp this guy. I wish I had a little bit more space to be able to leave this set up more permanently. It's a little wobbly. I'd like to have some pipes and stuff on here so that it actually has something to clamp down on and give it a little more security. But being as I have to tear this down when I'm not using it, I don't want to add to the complexity of it. For now, it's been working fine. I just have to be a little bit careful because of the wobbliness. Technical term. So you guys are gonna get the sneak peek. So there's the little patch I glued on there. Tone bars, X-brace, bridge plate. You want to see the rosette in the video that's going to be coming out this weekend? Is that cool or what? I really like how that looks. So that is end grain elm. You know, glued up. You cut it at what is that? 30 degrees, 15 degrees, I think it is. 15? I think it's 15. But there's 12 pieces all glued up, and then you cut out the circle out of it. It's got maple purfling around there, and I got a little bit of sanding to do yet on there, but man, I'm really happy. I think it looks really neat. So let's see what this sounds like. I haven't even checked it since I glued on these other. See if you can hear it. I don't know how well that's coming through, but hey, that's like a thumbnail shot right there. I kind of like that. I might have to do something like that for the thumbnail. It has a cool sound. Of course, we got a lot of tuning to do when it comes down to carving the braces and everything, but yeah, I like it. I'm using a 28-foot radius for the top and a 15-foot for the back. Same radius as I used on the first acoustic guitar. I'm not really changing anything on this build. I'm basically building the same style of guitar with pretty much the same dimensions, you know, as far as radius and everything. It's really just because I still want to build those skills that I started learning in the first one. So I'm not looking to make any drastic changes yet. Yeah. Oh, let's see here. Dello says, I want to continue building my own, but for the past 2 weeks, the humidity has remained consistently between 80 and 85%. That's up there. We've actually had some humidity. We were sitting at 70 something, maybe a week ago. Yeah, I don't know what it is right now, but I can feel that our humidity is a little higher this morning. Let's see what it says we are at. It says we're at 55 right now, and I believe that's probably pretty close. I mean, I can sort of feel it. But yeah, we were pretty high the other day, and it wasn't even raining. Robert says, I see you're gluing up some bracing on the guitar top behind you. Yes, that's been my focus for the last few days, and will continue to be. Really, that I'm planning on. That's going to be mainly what I'm working on, for the most part, until those other projects like the canoe paddle pop up in the middle. I want to just kind of keep trying to knock these steps out, and see how quickly we can get this together. Not that I'm trying to speed through it, because that's not the case at all. But the other acoustic guitar build last year, I had quite a few projects that popped up in between. And this one I think will still be the same kind of thing. If there's something else comes up, I'm going to definitely jump on it. But for the most part, right now, I don't have any other projects planned. It's really just going to be those pop-up ones that come out of nowhere. So I'm going to just keep on trucking. See if we can get this thing done in a reasonable amount of time. Christian says, thanks. Right on. Sam says, next time you're making a makeshift boat, play the violin on its last voyage. Don't forget to wear, I saw that, life jacket. Oh. Well, so far we haven't sank the boat yet. We tried. Adela says, I like that rosette. Cool. Thank you. I'm really pleased with the way it turned out. That's the first time I've done a radial rosette. And yeah, it turned out really good. And actually, as you'll see in the video, I cut the rosette out with a jig, but I used the CNC machine to cut that out. I didn't do the recess in the top, although I wanted to. I didn't quite trust my programming to not screw up the depth and end up somehow accidentally going all the way through or something horrible like that. But yeah, glued it all up, cut it out on the CNC, and then I did the recess for it using a rotary tool and a circle cutting jig. But yeah, decided I got to start stepping out, and as I'm feeling more and more comfortable with the CNC machine, start using that more and more. Nicholas says, turned out well. Thank you. Yes, I saw that, Sam. Autocorrect. Robert says, the rosette shows up better than I thought it was going to look. Looks nice, sounds fairly bright. I think you have the makings of another winter guitar. Well, thanks, Robert. I hope so. I do feel that this one is going to be brighter than the last one due to the fact that I'm using maple. And this is Port Orford cedar. And it is, I haven't used this, of course, so I'm kind of going off of what my research and other builder friends have told me, that cedar can be a little bit warmer sounding. So I'm hoping that due to the that combination of the Port Orford cedar and the maple, hopefully it balances out. But we'll find out. But yes, I wasn't completely sure how much of a contrast we were going to have on the rosette, and that is why I used the maple purfling, because I wanted that brighter pop, and it looks, I think it looks great. Turned out really, I couldn't have asked for it to turn out better. Sam says autocorrect is going to be the death of logical typing on here. Autocorrect is, I mean, once in a while it'll save you, but usually it just kind of messes you up. Let's see. Paul says, Rosette's cool. I liked making different ones on the acoustics I used to make. Yes. I mean, this whole process, I mean, even if you're building an electric guitar, right? You've got a lot of choices, a lot of options that that you can make. But with an acoustic, I feel like the options are almost more. Um, Now I know, with electronics and everything for an electric, yes, there's 1,000 different choices, and lots of different ways you can go with things. But what I'm finding with this is there's so many little things like wood choices, color combinations. You know, just it makes my head want to explode sometimes. Just trying to figure out what I want to use. What do you want to use for purfling? What do you want to use for binding? What do you want to use for the rosette? What do you want to use for different inlays, different this, that, and the other thing? And yes, you can go down that road with an electric, but there's something different about making all these choices on an acoustic that I don't know. It just seems so many more. It just seems like a lot more. I don't know. Again, if it's because this is only my second acoustic build, so I haven't had to go through that process of deciding all of that very many times. But it just feels to me like it's a little bit more. The choices are a lot more open on an acoustic. I don't know if that makes sense. Hopefully it does. Sam says with YouTube, suddenly set the video quality at 144. Oh man, some of that might be on my end. I'm noticing some stuttering on my side, so I don't know if my internet signal is having some trouble. Um, I don't know if it's me. It probably is. I'm going to blame that. I'll take that blame. Be blessed. What's going on? Be blessed, Desert Earth. Adana says, "What's your choice of color on them for the guitar? Are you talking about? I'm guessing. I'm not adding any color to it. My plan is to it's just going to be a clear coat. We'll seal it with probably like a shellac, maybe a lightly colored shellac. But really, I'm not adding any color to this at all. At least that's the plan." Robert says, "You mentioned in the paddle video that you might have to build a canoe. I think that would be nice, but it would need a lot more room for that. Check out the canoe build that Pask Makes did." Yes, Robert, you're absolutely correct. I have been looking at some canoe kits, where you have everything comes ready, really pretty much ready to assemble. And yes, there's absolutely zero, and I mean zero chance that I could do that in here. I mean, it is not physically possible due to the space that I have. So it would have to be, if I were to try something like that, I would have to do that either somewhere else, which I had a couple thoughts in mind where I could possibly do it. But yeah, trying to do that in here, I either have to do it completely outside or in another location. But I do think it would be an awesome project. I would love to build a canoe. Back in the day, I was in Boy Scouts, and we used to go on canoe trips quite often. I spent a lot of time in canoes. I feel comfortable in a canoe. I haven't been in one in many years, but I think it would be awesome. I'd love to get back out there and use the new paddle and probably make a few more. Be Blessed Desert Art says, "Ever use mesquite wood for that?" Not for a rosette. I have used mesquite. I've done a couple guitars with a mesquite fretboard, and I really liked using it for a fretboard. Even the owner of those, one of them anyway, said that they really like that mesquite on there. They're from the Texas area where there's, I guess, a lot of mesquite, so they really liked having that on there. But that's about the only thing I've used the mesquite for. Christian says, I love your wind chimes video. I collect wind chimes. Oh, right on. Awesome. Thank you. Yeah, that video did well, and it continues to do well on there. I kind of would like to, I'd almost like to make a different style of wind chime like that. I love the sound of those. I made 2 of them. I can't remember if I made 2 in the videos. I don't know if I made 1 or 2. I'd have to go back and watch it, but I did make 2 during that building process, and I had given 1 to my mom, and they have theirs hanging up where it gets lots of use, and ours is here at the house as well. I really like the sound of that. Ritesh says, how many projects do you do for fun versus professional? That's kind of a not really a tough one, I guess. A lot of my projects I do pretty much, even if I'm making something for us, something that we need that my family can use. I make a video out of that, so I could be making something for fun, like the canoe paddle. No one paid me to make that, but that was part of the video making process. I don't even know how to explain that. Basically, anything I can make, whether it's for me or actually a commission type project, I usually make a video out of it. So there's not really a whole lot of projects that I make, not a lot anyway, that don't show up on YouTube. And that's really because I just enjoy building things and making a wide range of things. Yes, sometimes I'll take a commission and that'll become a video. But if I also want to do something sort of personal, that also becomes a video. So it's kind of the lines are blurred between professional and personal, I guess. But I would say that, I do a lot of things. I do a lot of stuff that doesn't show up on the YouTube channel, but if it's a more involved project, it will become a video, because I'm always looking at other things that I can make and put on the channel. Stuff just pops up, like the paddle. Hey, it'd be cool to build a paddle. All right, we're building the paddle, and that's now going to be a YouTube video. Or guitar builds. This one in particular is not it's not a personal project, but it's not a specific commission for somebody. My goal is to build this, and of course, depending on the results, if I don't screw it up between now and the end, my goal will probably be to I'll likely sell this one. That could change. But yeah, most projects are gonna end up being on the YouTube channel. I don't know if that answered your question or not, but I'm always looking for other ways, other things to make into a YouTube video. Personal, commission, professional, whatever. Dallas says, will you apply a cutaway this time? No, not this time. I'm going to stick with the same design as the first one, the same kind of OM style. I do want to build a cutaway, but right now, again, yes, I've built one acoustic guitar, but there's still a lot of things that I need to be able to fine tune and continue learning, and that's exactly what I'm doing with this one. I'm not changing anything, taking the exact same processes and just trying to improve. Corey's here. Corey says, how hard or easy is it to make a butcher block countertops from start to finish? Well, the process of it is not hard, really. You're basically taking strips of wood in some width, whether you do a lot of narrow and thick stuff glued together, or you just cut a bunch of, 2x2 or 1.5 square stock, whatever that dimension is that you decide to use, and you're just gluing it up. The challenge with that, though, is getting it flat. Now I have a drum sander, but my drum sander is really only um, it's 16 inches wide. So in order to make a large butcher block, I have to glue a bunch of these up and I can flatten them on the drum sander, and then from there I have to glue those up. If you don't have something like that, or a planer, you could use a planer. That is the challenge that I would. That would be the challenge, I guess, is just getting it flat. Now you can use a router. You can build a fairly simple router jig to use to flatten it out, and that would work awesome as well if you had something big. But really, I think the process of building it is really not. It's not that hard. You're just gluing pieces together. Of course, the complexity, you can take it as make it as complex as you want. But if you just want a simple butcher block style, I can't really show you right now. This workbench that I have here, that's really all that is. It's now this one was a pre-made, factory-made deal workbench top, but it's just, it's just quarter sawn. I can see the end grain here. I don't even know what all it is. Maple, oak, kind of looks oak-like, but it might not be. It's just glued up, and then that's your workbench top. But overall, the process of building one isn't all that hard. The couple things you got to think through would be flattening it. How are you going to do that? And there's ways you can do it. What the heck was that? Something fell. Like I said, router sleds kind of thing. You could do it with a hand plane. If you're good at hand planing flat, that's a skill that I'm constantly working on. But yeah, it's like I said, the overall process would not be all that difficult. You just got to figure out how you're going to flatten it. So Ritesh says, how many musical instruments do you know how to make? Really just guitars. Uh, like stringed guitar type instruments. Cigar box guitars, solid body electric guitars, acoustic guitars. Although I don't claim to be an expert on that. Like cigar boxes and solid body electric guitars. I can make without having any reference material because I've done that enough, or I've done that enough times to where the process is. I know what I need to do. I know all my steps. This only being my second acoustic, I still gotta refer back, to refresh my brain. But I haven't done anything like violins or I'd like to build a banjo. That'd be kind of cool. But really, just stringed instruments, guitars, basically, is really what I've done. Robert says, yeah, the choices are vast. Just watch the lady on YouTube that's built acoustic for the GGBO the last couple of years. She did a mosaic landscape on one last year. Yes, I saw that. Yeah, there's just so many things you can do. And yes, you can do all that on an electric as well. Robert says, have you thought about maybe getting one of those shipping containers and turning that into a new shop? Yes, I have. I'm constantly pondering other options. Paul says, I'm building someone a telly out of mesquite right now. Each side of the body weighs about 15 pounds, so going to cut the tops, hollow out the sides. Still going to be a beast in weight. Yes, it will be. Heritage says, is this build going to be left-handed? No, it is going to be a right-handed acoustic. If I build left-handed, most of the time, I'm probably going to end up with it, and I don't need this one. It may turn out amazing, but by building it right-handed, the chances of being able to sell it are much higher. Or even if my daughter, wanted to play it or something, the chances of someone else being able to enjoy it is much higher than if I build it left-handed, because the market for left-handed instruments is very, very low. Robert says to Paul, yes, mesquite is very heavy and dense. It's also hard to find pieces clean enough to build anything out of. It's also very pretty, in my opinion. Yes, I like the look of it. Christian says, my first wind chime I built myself. Nice. That's awesome. Mike's here. Mike says, morning all. Posted my sanding disc holders at Printables and on your FB page. Right on. I got to check those out. I don't think I've seen those yet. Paul says, I had someone give me 2 stumps about 3 foot long and 14 inches wide. They weigh well over 100 pounds. Thankfully, my bandsaw is big enough to mill them without for my son. Those are some chunks of wood right there. I'm working on trying to get some more material to mill up, some logs like that. I'm not going to go too far into detail yet, but if I can get a few, we might have some material to mill up here after a little bit. Ritesh says, I have to make a shim for the guitar, but having a problem on how to make a 1 millimeter thin shim taper. Can you suggest some easy ways to do the taper? I'm guessing you're talking about a neck shim, so you can shim the neck. How would I make that? I'm thinking. I'm gonna think this through out loud. I don't know what tools you have available to you, so I'm just gonna kind of list off a few thoughts anyway. If I had to make one right now, what would I do? Let's see here. I'm just going to use this as a rough example. Obviously, this is a weird shape. But if I was going to turn this into a 1 millimeter taper, I would say bear with me as I'm pondering through the best way I would do this. Of course, you could just go, and try to sand it, right? If you were to put this on a flat sanding board and you put all your pressure at the front, that's going to eventually taper. If you had a larger block, I think I would not try to start out with this thin piece that I picked up as a sample. I think I would probably try to set up my bandsaw to roughly cut the taper. Then you could sand it at kind of an angle. You could also take a hand plane, and you start planing at the end and work that taper back. You could do that. I feel like whatever method I was going to set out to use would ultimately end in me sanding it on a sanding beam to get that final taper in there. I think that's probably how I would do it. Maybe you start out with a thicker board, rough cut it on the bandsaw, and then I would probably smooth it a little with a hand plane and ultimately sand it in. But I'd love to hear from you guys. If you had to do that to make a wooden neck shim, how would you do it? Of course, if you have access to a CNC machine, you could do that. You could build a router sled and have one side shimmed up so that the router moves at the taper you want. You could use that. And I think there's a lot of different ways. If you get a little bit creative with the tools and materials that you have. Of course, you could do it all by hand. Hand planes and any sanding beams, any of that kind of stuff. You could do it. Some are going to be a little more work than others, but I think if I was making it, I think I would end up sanding it flat at the end. However I got to that, you know what I mean. So Ritesh, I don't know if hopefully that helps you. Robert says there are shims for guitars you can buy unless you just want to make your own. Yes, the big suppliers sell them, but yeah, it'd be kind of cool to be able to make them too, I think. Paul says, yeah, I only build lefties by request. They sit forever in stores and eBay. Yeah, it's I know the struggles that left-handed guitarists have. Um, you know, but when you build one, they're hard to move. Paul says the bandsaw would be my choice. Set up a fence on it. Yes, I think that's where I would start. Um, Now, my bandsaw fence you can't angle, so I would have to take another piece of wood, like a scrap piece, and I would have to shim it so that I could run the piece through at the right angle. You know, you just set up a sacrificial fence on the bandsaw with that taper into it. You know, you could use a little strip of something to shim that um, sacrificial piece out to give you very close to the taper you want, and then I'd sand it in, I think. Corey says, if you're going to mill logs, you want to find a portable sawmill. That way you could take the raw stock of logs and make them into lumber. Just an idea. That's exactly my plan, Corey. I have an Alaskan chainsaw mill that I've used on quite a few logs. And actually, all this elm that I've been using, if you've seen me in the last couple of years build something out of elm, is all material that I milled myself with the chainsaw mill. The paddle that I just made, that was from a giant silver maple log, also milled with my chainsaw mill, and it's been stacked and drying for a couple of years. But yes, I don't have a bandsaw mill, but I have a friend that does have one that we can use. We haven't used it. I haven't used it. He uses it all the time, but I do have access to one if need be. But yes, I have the chainsaw mill, and I really enjoy milling. It's really kind of fun. I actually have a big log right now that it's been here about a year or so. I got to get it finished. I got to finish milling it up. Christian says, I love your videos. I watch them every day. Well, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. Heritage says, I would 3D print a jig with the right angle, stick the wood shim on it, and run through the sander. That is another good idea. Yes. Yeah. You could even, it's not the route. I mean, I wouldn't necessarily recommend it, but you could 3D print the shim itself. What if someone's tried that? 3D printed shim. I wonder how that would compare to a solid wood shim. Interesting. Robert says, likes people, please. Yeah. Thanks, Robert. If you guys are enjoying these lives, hit that thumbs up button. Apparently, as everyone says, that it helps the YouTube algorithms. I don't know. I just appreciate if you enjoy these, hit that thumbs up button. Paul says, my lumber mill equals a Harbor Freight chainsaw and a Laguna 14 BX bandsaw. Takes forever, but it seems to work. Hey. Yeah, it's whatever gets the job done. I wish I had the 14BX. That's the one that if I was going to go buy a big bandsaw or bigger bandsaw right now, that's probably what I would buy. But yeah, slice it with the chainsaw, you know, and that's the way I straight line slabs. Like if I'm going to take a piece of slab wood, most of the time I'm going to rough cut it with the circular saw, and then I'll take it to the joiner and square up that circular saw edge, and yeah. Sam says you could build a barge home for the summers on the pond. That would be kind of funny. My brother suggested that once I make sure it's floating the way it needs to float, like spend the night on it. Paul says Hayes Guitars sells 3D printed guitar shims. But there you go. Somebody's already done it. Heritage says you could 3D print a router sled with the correct angle. Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of ways you could get it done. Christian says, I gotta mow my lawn tomorrow. I should be mowing. Oh, it just got retracted. That's all right. Sorry. I got to do the same thing. It's all good. I didn't put enough sugar in that coffee today. Ritesh says, when you recrown frets, how do you finish the frets at last? The way I do it, there's a ton of different ways. A lot of people have great results using whatever method that they like. So I'm not saying that this is the only way to do it. There's tons of ways. The way I do it, and the way I've done it in several videos, once I have the frets installed, and I'm going to talk about an electric, because my process would be a tiny bit different, but not much for an acoustic. Once I have the frets installed, I'm going to level them with a leveling beam to make sure everything's nice and flat. Then I go back with a crowning file, to recrown them. Then I go kind of up through sandpaper. I have a bunch of little strips and I just give them a sand, and I start with like 600. Just sand each one, 600, 800, 1,000, 1,500 to 2,000 by hand. Just to kind of that removes the scratches. Then once I'm done with that, then I go through with a rotary tool and a little buffing wheel and I polish them all up. And usually that's good enough. And actually it works really well. That's just how I do it. I see where a lot of people only sand to like 800 or 1,000 and then polish it with steel wool. It's just a matter of what works for you. And while I'm not a fan of all that sanding, a few swipes with a little piece of sandpaper, through 4 or 5 different grits, it does take a few minutes. But I haven't found a method that works well for me outside of that. I'm able to get a really nice looking fret. I personally am not a fan of steel wool. I just hate how it leaves those little fibers. And yes, I know that you can use a magnet to collect all those things. But I just don't like steel wool myself. If you use steel wool and it works for you, I'm not knocking it at all. By all means, use what you like and what works well for you. I'm just sharing my personal thoughts on that. I just don't like it. But I know tons of people that use it. So there's nothing wrong with it. It's just not what I prefer. So Ritesh, that's how I do it. You kind of just need to find your process and find the method that works for you. The tools and materials that you have available to you. That's just how I do it. The worst part is the sanding. And I'm not doing a ton of sanding. Once I recrown with the crowning file, then I'm just going in and I'm removing scratches. And then once I get past like the 600, it's really just removing the previous step scratches and up until I get to 2,000. Paul says, got the 18BX on order, 16-inch resaw, head to wire the shop for $220, waiting for it to arrive, donating the 14BX to a school. Dude, that's awesome. The 18 is awesome. That's what I would like to have, ultimately. But like I said, right now, if I was going to buy one, which I don't have room for, I'd probably, the 14 would work well for most tasks. But always, bigger is better. Sam says, could you 3D print a disposable mower blade? That's an interesting thought. I don't know what material you would have to use in order to make it at least strong enough to sort of work. I don't know. Paul says, after crowning, I use micro mesh to polish them, use the pads dry. I have seen micro mesh used a lot. I haven't used it very much. Robert says, I enjoy watching the Matt Cremona video YouTube channel when he uses home-built bandsaw mill. Isn't that mill a beast? That thing's so cool. Ritesh says, which pickups do you think are cheaper than big brands like Seymour Duncan but works great? I typically, for my builds, I'll typically use a lot of the factory ones. So I don't have a ton of experience with some of the others, but ones that I have used in the past, no, wait, I haven't used them. Ones that I've seen and heard demos of, but I have not used. So I can't vouch for these. It's just kind of coming off the top of my head. There's a place called Dragonfire Guitars, I think it is, and they make pickups. And I've seen a lot of people use their pickups for different things, and I've heard good results. Again, I can't speak for them because I don't use them. I do, like I said, I like to stick with, the bigger. I don't even know how to say that. I typically use Seymour Duncan's or bare knuckle, that sort of thing. But I have heard good results or good. I've heard good reviews. There it is. From like the Dragonfires and stuff, and they're pretty inexpensive. But I just want to say again that I've not used them, so I personally can't really give you any insight on that. Harry Dude says, I use micro mesh while doing a refret. When polishing, during a setup, I use different grades of scouring pads, green and white, moved away from steel wool. Yes, that I can't stand how those little fibers get everywhere. And I definitely don't want that on an electric guitar. I mean, you got to make sure that your pickups are covered and all that, or otherwise they're just stuck to the magnets and it's just a disaster. Yeah, so I will use pretty much any method other than steel wool for me. On an acoustic, I suppose you could, but still, I don't like the little metal fuzzies everywhere. I'm gonna have to get some of that micro mesh. I want to find a good source. I need to do a little bit of research on that. A good source for micro mesh, other than the usual supply place. That's like these sandpaper discs, the 24-inch sandpaper disc that you can buy from the luthier supply houses, or where they sell them as these guys, where they sell them as radius dish sandpaper. It's a 24-inch disc. These I bought for, I don't remember what they were, but they were very inexpensive compared to the supply houses. You just buy a 24-inch sanding disc for a floor sander, and it's the same thing. It's a 24-inch disc. And that's what I want to find for micro mesh, or at least a different source, different place to buy it from than the usual. I'm trying to avoid saying their name. Mike says, keyword, disposable blade. Yes. That would be interesting. Paul says, you can 3D print one for a weed eater. Don't know about a mower. Speed at the end of blades might be too much to not have them destroy themselves. Yeah, I don't know. I almost think a weed eater spins faster. I could be wrong. I don't know. I'd have to do some math on that. Sam said, did you get any spare time to check out the Vaunt tools? You know what, Sam? I totally forgot. I'm glad you brought that up. While we're right here, I'm going to just bring up the webpage just so I can check it out later. I totally forgot about that. Thank you for reminding me. So there. I just brought it up. That way, it'll be there. Paul says, I use True Custom Shop pickups out of West Virginia. They're cost effective and really beefy. Interesting. I gotta check them out. Mike says, gotta go. Take care. Right on, Mike. Have an awesome day. Robert says, Mike, take care. Be safe. Take care. Be safe and healthy. Brian says, have a great one. See you next time. Brian, you out of here? Have an awesome one. Thanks for tuning in. Auf Wiedersehen. Aha, see? I had to pull off the German. Ritesh says, do you think StuMac sells overly expensive tools, or are they reasonably priced? Ritesh, that's a great question. My thoughts, okay? don't don't hate me. I think that a lot of their tools are awesome. I own quite a few StuMac tools. I have nothing against them. I believe that their customer service is awesome. You know, all of their things have almost all of their tools anyway, maybe all, have a lifetime warranty, and I have taken advantage of that. I have had to contact them for different things, and they just send out whatever you need. I think for the very specialty tools, I have no problem paying for it, to some extent. When possible, I will try to make my own. But sometimes, if it's due to a time crunch or you really just need this thing, I will buy the tool from them, as I believe that their quality is good, and I have nothing against that. Their crowning files and a lot of their specialty tools, I totally recommend. For stuff like sandpaper, stuff like these, I don't feel that they're necessarily the best option. They're sticky back sandpaper. I don't buy from them. Consumables, let's say. I don't buy consumables from them, mainly because I feel that I can get them cheaper elsewhere. But their tools and everything, I have zero issues. Like I said, I own a lot of StuMac tools. I just try to find consumables like sandpaper, and I don't buy glues, any of that sort of stuff from them. Once in a great while, I will get a piece of hardware from them because I've found sometimes they have just that thing that I need, where I can't seem to find exactly that somewhere else. A lot of times you can find the same, the part you're looking for other places. But yeah, I don't know. I have nothing against them. I do think their tools are expensive, but depending on what you're looking for, you can get it someplace else. Another, let me show you. Let me show you an example. Oh, actually, right there. I just realized that. Skyscraper. Hang on. Stuff like these. Radius sanding beams. I don't buy from the place we were just talking about. I do not, well, I take that back. I do own a couple of their wood blocks that I bought years ago. But since then, yeah. Check out Skyscraper guitars. These things, I'm telling you, these things are awesome. And Chris at Highline, I don't know if you're still on here. Skyscraper, I don't know if you've used any of their stuff. They're out of Castle Rock. Greg lives in Castle Rock. I personally know Greg. I met him through the local guitar building community. But the Skyscraper tools that he makes, I feel like they're priced well. And this isn't sponsored or anything. I bought these. But yeah, if you guys haven't used or seen any of the Skyscraper stuff, you guys got to check it out. They're really cool, and I love this orange color. Even I don't know if I can get it out. I recently picked up, speaking of Skyscraper, I think I've showed you guys this before. The fret bender. Is that cool or what? So yeah, I would highly recommend checking out their stuff if you're looking for specific things. And he does a lot of setup tools, I guess. Notch straight edges, fret benders, radius sanding blocks, and that sort of thing. And they're top notch and priced better than others. How's that? But anyway, I hope, Ritesh, I hope that sort of answers your question. I think StewMac is great for their tools, for their warranty. But again, it depends on what I'm looking for, as to whether or not I'm going to buy from them. Harry Dude says, yes, the dreaded luthier tax. Same as a regular item, but with luthier in the title. Yes, this is luthier floor sanding discs. Sam says American pickups wouldn't fit on UK roads. I see what you did there. Pickups, get it? Christian says, I gotta go. See you next Wednesday. Right on. Have an awesome week. Thanks for stopping in. Robert says, Christian, have a good one. Christian says, you too. Right on. Sam. Sam, you're just... you're full of them one-liners today. Problem with guitars. They keep sticking their necks out. Those darn necks. Paul says, last StewMac item I bought was for drilling tuner mounting holes. Also, in their binding cutter set. What was the last thing I bought from them? Might have been my circle cutting jig. Last tool that I got, I think. Yeah, I think their tools are great. I do. It's just some of them I can get other places, like the Skyscraper. If I can get a tool from Skyscraper and StewMac for like the same tool, mine's going to be orange. Let's see. Robert says the small bases for the Dremel to turn it into a mini router that StewMac sells can be bought for less at other locations. Robert, you are absolutely correct. However, the same with the fret slotting jig. You can buy those other places, and they're cheaper than what StewMac sells them for. There are a couple things that they add to theirs, though, that makes it, in my opinion, a teensy bit nicer. I haven't seen one. I'll show you really quick, and then I got to get to wrapping this up. So here it is. This is the StewMac router base with the circle cutting jig. Now I don't use this necessarily, but it comes with a light, which is kind of cool. How do you turn it off? There we go. Which is kind of cool. I have decent light in the shop, so I found that I don't necessarily need this, but I have used it a couple times. It's kind of cool. Is it necessary? It's not, but it's cool. Another thing that I haven't seen on the other ones is this little guy here. Now, there may be others out there that have that. I could be wrong. This is like some sort of a pre-stop. I don't know if you can see. Try to turn this. See that little pin that's coming down there? So you can take your material. Let's just say this, right? You can take your material, set it in there, lock it down, right? So now you have a, wait, I'm messing this up. But anyway, you can, actually I gotta bring this up. Sorry, I'm messing up the demonstration. I'm not trained to sell their tools, and I'm not trying to either. So you put that little pin all the way up. So you can set it for the thickness of whatever material you're trying to use. And then you can bring this down, which gives you a hard stop. So now you can make your cut, raise this up a little bit. You can bring this down incrementally. It's just, I found that's kind of handy, especially doing something like the inlay for the rosette. I can set it for the thickness that I want to go, and then using this stop I can work my way down, and I don't have to worry about going too far, like accidentally plunging it down. Now there's other ones that are not the plunge base. This is of course the plunge base, But I just feel like there's things that, they make a little change, which I think is usually for the better. Um, but yeah, you can get them cheaper. I'm not arguing that whatsoever. Dello says, "Have a great week, you too, Dello." Sam says, "Thanks for the fantastic stream, you legend." Paul says, "Gotta go. Have a great week." Harry Dude says, "Tone Rider pickups installed some for customers by request, and they've been happy with them. Interesting. I have heard of those, but I haven't tried them." Harry Dude says, "Can't deny StuMac quality on most of their items, but when I have to convert USD to AUD, then pay international shipping and the luthier tax, I often try to find an alternative like build my own." I 150% agree with you on that. Yeah, it's, there's the the conversion, and then international shipping. That just, it really, it adds up. So I don't I don't disagree with you at all. Um, and there's even been, there's been a lot of stuff where I have said, you know what, I can make that myself. Um, I could have I could have bought my sidebender for the acoustic guitars, but sometimes there's just projects that you look at and go, yeah, it's gonna be a bit of work to make, but it's totally worth it. Could I build this? Probably, but when I look at, sometimes it's the complexity. I'm not going to try to, in most cases, build this thing myself. I can just buy it. Does it kind of hurt the old pocketbook? Yeah. But there's other things like the radius dishes. Yes, you can buy those too, but you can make them. And everything, I have to weigh the pros and cons. Can you make these? Absolutely. I actually have been 3D printing for the shorter 8-inch ones. I've been 3D printing them, and I don't buy them anymore. I just make my own. But these long ones, I can't 3D print one that long. So to me, it just makes sense to buy one. It just depends on, the tools, materials, and how badly you need the thing, or how much time and energy you want to put into it. When it comes down to, I usually will look at all the options. If I'm looking at a specific thing, um, there's just so many variables. We all have different materials, we all have different budget requirements, we all have different time constraints, and all of that plays into whether or not you just dump the money into buying a thing, or you want to spend the time, or it's we all have different needs and requirements. So, alrighty, I gotta wrap this up. Right on, guys. Robert says, "Everyone stay safe and healthy. Have a great week." You too, Robert. With that being said, we're gonna stamp this one as complete, and another great live stream in the books, as they say. So, thanks a lot, guys, for tuning in. I gotta get back to doing some bracing. I gotta get the finger braces ready to go, so I can get those things glued in. Like I said, I'm hoping to have this thing fully braced by the end of the day. And that is with glue drying time. So, right on. Thanks, guys. I appreciate you. This was a good one. I love all the questions, and as always, thanks a lot. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel. Rosette video coming out this weekend. I'm gonna get these finger braces glued in, and then go work on the edit while that's drying. So, thanks a lot. I appreciate all of you for taking some time out of your day or night to hang out here at Home Built Workshop and the weekly Wednesday live. Right on, guys. Stay safe, stay well, get out in your shops, make some cool things. I don't care what it is. Just go make something. Have some fun, and I'll see you guys next week. Thanks a lot. I appreciate all of you. Have a good one.